is where we talk about faith, abundance, vitality, overflow, and relationships. I'm Lisa Mosby, the host of this podcast, this show. I want to thank you for tuning in and letting me offer a little bit of advice with my expert guests. And today, again, my expert guest and dear, dear, dear friend is Miss Paula Johnson. You know, Paula is an integrative nutrition health coach at Craving Joy, and she offers solutions for better sleep, stress management, transitioning to healthy and delicious foods. Paula and I actually co-host a Facebook Live every Thursday where we talk about herbs, essential oils, health, wellness, nutrition, and that's in our herbalists group. You're certainly welcome to join there if you want to stay connected with us. And again, you can find those links on our websites. But I want to bring Paula in here right away. You know, Paula, last week we talked about the love book, you know, the 5 love languages by Gary Chapman. And we're back this week talking about love, aphrodisiacs, and self-care. Like we're tying them all together. Love and aphrodisiacs are kind of our highlights this week. What are you most excited about talking about here?
Yeah, well, there's so many facets to this. It's not just about what happens in the bedroom, but there's all the other things that kind of build up to this too. So I'm excited to dive into this with you, especially with Valentine's Day coming up this week. It's always a perfect time to talk about this, but this really applies all year long, is what we can do to support ourselves and our loved ones too.
Yeah. We mentioned the 4 types of love last week. Philia, which is brotherly or self-love. Eros, which is that romantic, passionate, physical love. Storge, which is our family love. And then agape, which is God's divine love, that unconditional love that we experience. And where I kind of want to go this week is more with Philia, like that, the first 2. Philia, our self-love is where we're going to start. And then we're going to end up in Eros, that romantic, passionate love. And how do we stimulate that? How do we bring that out in our relationships? Have you ever thought of what it might be like if you didn't love, never experienced love, or couldn't receive love?
Dark. Yeah. Depressing. Hmm.
Yeah, when we think of loving our husband, loving our children, loving our pets, loving our things, there's something that happens in our body. There's a physical sensation that starts to occur. And there are people that claim that they have never loved or felt loved. Why do you think that happens, Paula? There's like love is tied to our emotions. It's tied to our mindset. It's tied to maybe our foods and things that we're consuming and how we care for our body. But yeah, chime in on this idea of lacking love or not being able to receive love.
Yeah, I can easily see, like when you get sick, it's harder to think positive. When you're feeling sad, it's harder to bring yourself out of that. But I think when we can figure out ways to maybe be a little more open to that, maybe find ways to invite that into our life versus, like when you're in an anger state, you are just shut down. You are closed. You are not receiving or open to anything except sitting in your anger or your pity party or whatever, right? But until we can decide, I'm ready. I'm ready to be open to something else. I'm ready to receive something different. I'm ready to look beyond the state I'm in now and transition to something different. That's when we can start opening that up. And that's a big shift. That's a big example. I think in daily life too, there are days where we are just busy and overwhelmed and consumed with the go, 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 that we're so busy that we're not open to love or any positivity if we're in the rat race chase, right?
Yeah, if our mind
So,
is distracted. Yeah.
yeah, at any point, it is a decision to be open to it subconsciously and consciously. But then also to be looking for those signs, right? God is giving us signs all the time of how much he loves us, but sometimes we don't look. Sometimes we're not aware. Sometimes we're not seeing the beauty he's painted all around us or the gifts of the people in our lives. But when we are ready to look, oh my gosh, they're everywhere, right? They multiply. They come in, for me, I often think I always see it in threes, I'll be driving to go to someplace special and I'm like, I see three hawks on the way there during my drive, or three eagles, or threes of something. Or people will say a phrase that I haven't heard in a while, and then another person will say that phrase, and and like, okay, I know God is trying to help me pay attention to that, because that's how I get my radar up, or how I pay attention. Like, oh yeah, okay, I'm listening now. But am I open to it? Am I ready for that? And that just helps me see that. Very visual. So seeing God's beauty around me first is my first step to opening up to recognizing love, and his love is the biggest, the first, right?
Yeah, that agape love, because we can choose to experience that if we, depending on if you're a believer, not a believer, where you stand with faith. But you can choose whether you use the word God or some other term to a higher power, an enlightened being. When you have that spiritual, that faith connection, you know that you're loved. Period. That's the sentence. I am loved. Period. And that
Mhm.
doesn't waver with that agape love. It's when we get into the human realm where we get challenged and, we think, oh, we're not loved because someone's mad at me. It's like, no, the two don't go hand in hand. Love is underneath. We can always be loving beings, but we don't necessarily like someone's behavior. We can always be loving beings and still be upset with them because of something that happened. Love doesn't ever have to go away. It's a choice to always come from that place of love. I love that you said the three things, because I do that too, not necessarily with just love, but if things show up three times, how we became friends three times. We were sitting at networking meetings and you set your coat down, I set my coat down, we go get our coffee, we come back, it's like, I'm sitting by you, I'm sitting by you, I'm sitting by you. And finally it's like, hey, we're going to be friends because God has connected us. So when things start to occur in your life for three things, I love that. And it works for this too, is like, how am I experiencing love? If we just ask that question in the morning when we wake up, maybe we'd be more open to seeing those things.
Mhm.
Love. Oh, the other thing I wanted to say is, how do we expect somebody else to love us if we don't love ourselves? Somebody
Yeah.
asked me that question years ago. I was probably in my 20s. And it's like, if you don't have a good relationship with you, if you don't feel good with you, if you're criticizing you, how do you expect somebody else to show up and look past all of that? So I think, for me at least, we need self-love first. I think that there needs to be a resurgence of, and now I'm not talking about from an ego place. I'm just saying we need to love and accept ourselves, give ourselves grace and mercy. We're humans, we're not perfect. Life happens for us, not to us. And we can embrace that and care for ourselves in a compassionate way, and be willing to let other people love us for our faults, or love us just the way that we are. Where do you chime in on that one?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's an easy one that we can recognize in people. I mean, just in public environments, you see the people that love and take care of themselves, you kind of gravitate towards them. You want to, like, oh, I want to know what they're doing, or I want to be part of that, versus those that are just doing that negative self-talk and kind of beating themselves down. Yeah, I don't necessarily want to hang out with that person. That's not the first person I'm going to choose
Yeah.
to hang out with. And that is a feeling that we subconsciously are pulled to people that have that self-love, or we're opposed to it. So yeah, you're exactly right. That first step of, yeah, we got to love ourselves. When we open that and we can experience that, our light shines brighter. People are drawn to that light, and that um, they want to be with you, right?
Yeah. And we get to experience more love, because when we love ourselves, those people, it's easier for them to love us. We also get to experience more love in giving love, because we open our capacity to be able to do that. So, first lesson, let's practice self-love. History, I have to go back. When I think of aphrodisiacs, there's only one person that comes to mind. You probably know who this is. I joke about it all the time. Cleopatra. The Egyptians used perfumed oils and set the mood. And Cleopatra was said to have used like cardamom, cinnamon, basil to seduce Mark Antony and the Emperor Julius Caesar. So this is not a new concept we're talking about here. Aphrodisiacs, scents, fragrances, how we bathe ourselves. Men use cologne, aftershave. Women use perfumes. And it's been around for centuries. We've been dealing with these fragrances. And when we use the word aphrodisiac, it stimulates a specific something. But besides the Egyptians, we talk about faith in here. The show is called Living with Favor. So it's only appropriate that we bring in maybe some biblical references. And I thought, can we actually talk about this on this show? Am I going to find this? So I did. Both the Torah and the Bible's Old Testament mentions scents as aphrodisiacs, specifically calling out, I'm going to use this word, the erotic power of fragrant love flowers found by Reuben to increase his mother Leah's fertility. The particular flower mentioned in the ancient texts were mandrakes. So, yeah, it's even in the Bible. It doesn't matter the text. It doesn't matter the era, the century when. This has been around. Love and aphrodisiacs have been around. It's how human beings get connected and stay connected is through scents. A lot of people say that our sense of smell is our strongest sense. Why is that, Paula?
Well, it's tied right to our brain, right? It ties to memory, it ties to emotion. They're all so wrapped together that we experience an emotion, it reminds us of a scent. We experience a scent, it reminds us of an emotion or a memory that we have. And it's so integrated, our conscious mind doesn't even need to recognize it. Our body subconsciously just knows that. You get just an instant feeling when you experience a different scent, positive or negative.
Yeah.
That triggers a good or bad, depending on the scent. Yeah.
Goes right in through the nose up to the brain. It's the only sense is considered the strongest because it is so directly tied to the brain. Shakespeare talked about it, perfumes and incense as aphrodisiacs. During the Renaissance, women used midwives to make potions for them to help deliver babies, to help attract the mate and get pregnant. So it's here, it's in our history over and over again. So let's dive into that. What is an aphrodisiac? An aphrodisiac can be a food, a drink, an herb, an essential oil, a scent of any kind. It's not the same for all people. We can't say that there's a one and done fix it. There's also pheromones, like we give off pheromones when we see somebody who we might be attracted to. So there's many, many different things. Where should we start with this? Do you want to start with essential oils or herbs?
Well, really they're one and the same, but herbs are, depends on where you live. If you can locate them,
Yeah.
Essential oils are convenient. They're concentrated little droplets that work very similar to the herbs or flowers themselves. So two of my favorites are bergamot. So bergamot is a fruit, and it is helpful because it just helps calm the body, calm the nervous system. And a lot of times we are busy people. So to try to turn our switch to romance or something else, it doesn't always happen that fast, especially for women. So bergamot is a great one because it just helps calm our body. It helps relax us. It gives us happy feelings so we can transition into that arena. The other one that I really love is ylang ylang. It's spelled Y-L-A-N-G, but that Y you pronounce like an E. So ylang ylang. It's a beautiful little flower. And traditionally, that flower would be spread all across the wedding bed to encourage romance on the wedding evening and into the honeymoon and spur fertility. So the same thing with the essential oil. Easy to just apply a couple little drops to the body, diffuse it in the air, have that scent. but it also has a great calming impact to the nervous system, to the body. When we can calm our bodies and our minds, we can transition to a different state of mind, a different emotion, a different state of being, and have different interests and intimacy than we had earlier that day. With the chaos of life, we can
I know.
step into a new mode. And so those are my top twos, because I think most women need that let go of the day and then just relax and move into, okay, I'm here, I'm fully present, I'm engaged. And those are great scents that help do that. What about you,
I'm
Lisa?
going to
What
give
comes to
two,
mind?
and we'll call these the women aphrodisiacs, right? Those are your kind of two. And I used to use ylang ylang as a perfume, but that also attracts people that you may not want to attract. So, save that for somebody special. Um, Rose was one, like the floral scents of rose. The perfume that I'm wearing right now has rose and jasmine, which will be my second one that I would choose. Jasmine.
Yeah.
It has a rose and a jasmine scent to it. Both of those help to lift the mood. If we're feeling overwhelmed and put upon and down, smelling those has been shown to increase or boost both mood and confidence, as well as improve fertility and libido, which is, those are kind of the qualifiers for it to be an aphrodisiac. And Ayurvedic practitioners, they'll tell you that rose will actually regulate the nervous system, and you become more responsive to the feeling of touch. So I thought, oh, well, that's really interesting. I love that. And then I used to grow jasmine in my backyard, and when it would come in bloom, I would just like pick the blooms off of it and run. I love jasmine. Not the least expensive of essential oils. If you're going to buy those two are probably, I don't know, they might be number one and number two for expense. I don't know. They're both very expensive essential oils. So getting it in an eau de toilette, whatever the eau de toilette, or some sort of a perfume might be easier. Or if you have a friend and you go in and share the bottle, and you only need a 1 or 2 drop, because they're both so fragrant. It just like ylang ylang is so fragrant that you don't need a lot. But again, that jasmine. It stimulates the libido. So diffusing that in the room for a half hour or an hour before you go to bed, you may see something pop up. We'll just say it like that. But those are really kind of, in my mind, geared towards women. Those are aphrodisiacs for women. So guys, if you want to turn on the diffuser, maybe those would be the 4 oils that you pick. Or, maybe if you're just around the house, I wouldn't wear it out in public, but, put a little on your shirt and see if, walk around and you be the diffuser, and see if you can't just draw in, some affections from your significant other. If we jump into men's, a sense that kind of, to me, have an affinity for men, the first one I'll say is patchouli. When you think of patchouli, musky, earthy, sensual, romantic, that's a manly scent. Do you like patchouli, Paula?
Not particularly. I would
No?
tend to lean more towards sandalwood
Yep,
or
that would be the second one for men
Mhm.
that I pulled up.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Why sandalwood?
I think sandalwood, just in my head, it automatically I think masculine, calming.
Yeah. Very nice. Yeah. I know with patchouli, it helps to release endorphins, and it increases blood flow, and it can heighten the arousal in men, and it can also enhance pleasures, is what the books say. So I'm just sharing information from a variety of different resources. With sandalwood, again, that one works on the nervous system to calm the individual down. And studies claim that sandalwood elevates the pulse, and exhibits antidepressant and relaxing qualities. So,
Oh,
yeah, depending on where, if you have a man who's highly stressed, intense work, executive position, it needs to just like calm down. And then, that patchouli. So if you're creating a fragrance, or you're creating a diffuser in his office, or in, a space that he's going to be frequently frequenting when he comes home or after dinner, that's a beautiful combination. And then there's some neutrals. I call them neutrals because they can kind of work for either party. Have you ever thought of peppermint as an aphrodisiac?
I've not. Tell me
No,
more.
no, Greek. Named after the Greek nymph Minthe, Minthe, who is the mistress of Pluto, god of the underworld. Peppermint has deep ties to forbidden desire. Recent studies have found it as an aphrodisiac for women, increasing alertness, stimulating the brain, and dilating the blood vessels in the brain and the sex organs. So never ever would I have put that down as an aphrodisiac. It was only through, some study and research that I was able to find some of this stuff. We know it has an affinity for the brain. It can wake us up. It can, test scores. People do better when they've studied smelling peppermint or rosemary, and then they take the test after smelling it, and they noticed there's an increase in test scores. Our ability to retain information and memory. I think of that around peppermint. Definitely never would have thought of it as an aphrodisiac.
Mhm, mhm.
Another
And
one. Oh, go ahead.
definitely,
Yeah.
I was gonna say peppermint, I definitely think is one that must be diluted with a carrier oil or can be a little too intense and
Yeah.
painful.
Diffusing it is, I wouldn't necessarily put it on a person. I put it in different like deep relief formulas for strained muscles or,
Mhm,
fatigued
mhm.
muscles after a workout. But if you're going to diffuse it, I think it's, from that diffusing
Yes,
perspective, that might be
yes.
how you might want to use it as an aphrodisiac.
Mhm.
Another one is, orange. Orange again increases blood flow to the sexual organs. Um, let's see, the smell of citrus also has been shown to increase alertness, which helps a person to be more sensitive and in tune to the stimuli around them. Orange, would you think of it as aphrodisiac?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, definitely. I think it just helps lower anxiety and stress. It just promotes that happy feeling. Any of those citrus oils are like sunshine in a bottle,
Yeah,
it's all uplifting, and that's exactly where you want to be, is uplifted in those moments, right?
yeah. Uh, cinnamon. Cinnamon, in the research found that scents of cinnamon increase sexual function in aging male rats. They didn't test this on men, but might transfer over, suggesting that it may aid in erectile dysfunction. I don't know how you would use that though. I don't think it would be, again, topically. I would think that would be maybe incorporating cinnamon into your food, maybe incorporating cinnamon into your tea, consuming the spice itself, maybe diffusing some cinnamon. It is a spicy, hot essential oil, and I don't know another way that somebody would use that one. Any thoughts?
Yeah, again, it would have to be highly diluted because
Mhm.
that would be very intense on the skin.
Yeah,
Certainly could be consumed in a capsule, could be easily diffused in
yeah.
there too. Hmm.
Ginger and vanilla, cinnamon, they all kind of go together. Ginger and vanilla are two other ones that were listed as scents that come from that place of aphrodisiac. Here's an interesting thing. Lavender, which I think of as something to help you sleep more, really, really deep
Almond.
relaxation from that. But there was a study done. Pumpkin pie, traditionally a Thanksgiving dessert, increases arousal in men. In fact, one study found that the scent of pumpkin pie mixed with lavender increased blood flow to the nether regions by 40% when sniffed.
Huh. Interesting stat. Wow.
Yeah,
Who knew?
mind-boggling. Yeah, and I'm taking all these stats. I will put the link to the resource where I found this stuff if anybody wants to dig deeper. I'm just giving you the highlights, the tidbits, when I read it, the awe, the shock and awe that I was experienced, because I've been doing this, more than 30 years, and I was like, some of this stuff is news to me. It was so fun to dive into the oils and look at them. But then I kind of wanted to back in, when I think of pumpkin pie, I also think of, there's herbs. We'll get to that here in just a second. We'll rattle off a few of those. But what other foods do you think of, Paula? When you think of aphrodisiacs, what foods come to mind?
Hmm. I guess fruits and chocolate.
Yeah, exactly. Strawberries,
Hmm.
champagne,
Hmm.
chocolate, pumpkin pie, not on my list.
It might be now.
Not on my list. Yeah, yeah, that one just kind of that was mind-boggling to me. Other things are oysters. Maybe people have, used that as
Yep,
an
yep.
aphrodisiac. Coffee, champagne, absinthe, chartreuse, and honey were listed as foods that are aphrodisiac. And I'm sure there's probably more. Like I said, this is the condensed list. I picked out my favorites, kind of the ones that I was like, honey kind of makes sense. Probably wouldn't have picked it on my own. Strawberry, not picked it on my own. I know I'm obsessed with coffee. I love coffee all times of the day. I have my fancy coffee, I have my black coffee, and I am, yeah, coffee. So it must have something, it must have some calming properties, and then that bitterness, I don't know. And then I add a little sugar to that bitterness and a little cream. Yeah, I can see how maybe putting all those together, when I think about it, when I get there, what shows
Well, and
up
the
for food? Go.
cacao is probably the stimulating portion of that, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I can't believe how many of these things that I consume on a regular. I'm single, and I have a lot of these aphrodisiac foods things in my life. It's like, wow, this is a really interesting topic that you chose to talk about. I want to list off of a couple of herbs here. Ginkgo biloba, wild oats, ginseng. Ginseng is energizing. Eleuthero root is American ginseng, energizing. Maca, I was just in Peru, and maca is everywhere. It's used in everything. It's part of their everyday life. Maca is. Damiana or Damiana, fenugreek, which
Mhm.
is in digestion. Tribulus, which is usually a man's, kind of supports men's health, men's libido. Tongkat alley, ashwagandha, rhodiola, those two are more like the calming, nutritive, supporting of the adrenal glands. And one that I kind of want to throw out a little caution, a lot of formulas, if you're buying over-the-counter formulas for libido enhancement or something, many of them will have yohimbe in it, and yohimbe stimulates and increases the heart rate. So please, please, please definitely use caution with that. I have known a couple of clients and a couple of folks that have kind of gotten themselves into trouble with that. So if you have a strong heart, and make sure you get checked out if you want to use some of these herbal type of products for sexual function or help in the area of libido. If you're going to skip the little blue pill and go this route instead, just know your herbs. Reach out to an herbalist who can help you walk through what these herbs are. We're sharing them with you in a fun, light way. I just want to bring attention to some things that I didn't even know were considered aphrodisiac herbs, but wanted to kind of put in a warning here, because some of these can be overstimulating for some of us who don't need to be overstimulated. So just know what you're getting into, and consider who it is that that's helping you to kind of walk this journey of discovery in your herbal endeavors. So that's all I food, oils, herbs. We did it really fast, but lots of fun. You have some amazing resources. I know you have a book by Lucy Libido. Let's share a little bit about that. And then some
Mhm.
classes. I want you to talk about some of the things that are available to help support people in their aphrodisiac intimacy walk here in February.
Yeah, I love this book by Lucy Libido. She just kind of carefully talks through helping women really balance their hormones, helping men and women get in the mood. And she shares a few essential oil recipes for in the bedroom. So it's a very tasteful way to walk through that as you explore a little bit more in the relationship with your spouse and enhancing the bedroom. We also have a info series that Lisa's going to post a link so people can sign up for, and just kind of walks through some of these things about intimacy and the products that you can use, the mindset shift that's needed, and helps guide you through that transition. So very fun. And then we have a class coming up at the end of the month that will also talk about some great tips and ideas to share on that too. So lots of great resources if you want to dive more into that. Lisa will post the links for those to connect with us or reach out to us, and we'd be happy to answer questions too.
Yeah, and I'll put that on lisamosby.com because it's the easiest place for y'all to find it. It'll also be on the YouTube channel. It'll be on my YouTube channel. It'll be in the comments for this episode of Aphrodisiacs and Love. If you want to find it there, those will both be places that you can connect in and check those things out. I know I talked really fast. I was so excited about this topic. Do you have anything else that you'd like to share or add around aphrodisiacs or love, or how do we open ourselves up to giving and receiving love in a healthy and positive way?
Yeah, I think the first thing is just setting that intention
Mhm.
and just expressing that you are ready to be open to it mentally, emotionally, physically, and start
Yeah.
looking for it, seeing it, appreciating it, and it will happen in all kinds of ways. But just be willing to do something new, try something new, and see it. It's all love is all around us. We just need to identify it in whatever way it shows up.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. If you could use a little bit of advice, whether it's walking through some of those foods with Paula, because that's her specialty, is transitioning people into healthier choices. If you can use a little bit of advice about your business, this is a show for entrepreneurs. We want to get your message out there and promote you. So if you need a little bit of advice on how to do social media in a bigger, bolder way, I'm happy to chat with you about that. Let's discuss your business today. You can just go to lisamosby.com and click on book it to set some time with me. Paula, where can folks find you? And tell us a little bit about the services that you offer, if you don't mind.
Yeah, you can find me at cravingjoy.health. I also have a calendar booking link on there as well. And just love to help people make those healthy transitions. Whatever goals you have set, you know what you want to do. You just need some help on how to actually implement it and get it done, make it happen. So I love helping people break down those obstacles and figure out realistic ways to really make things happen. You don't have to willpower through everything. You can just make things simpler in your life to actually make your goals successful.
And she's fun to work with. That's what I love, is we always make it fun. Yeah, lisamosby.com, cravingjoy.health to find Paula. We hope you all come back next week. Check out Living with Favor. We'll be back live again. And so if you want to join us live on the show, you can ask questions and interact with us directly. We'd invite you to come on back, and you can find that link at winwinwomen.tv. Winwinwomen.tv is where we go live, and that'll be the link for you. Thanks so much, everybody. We appreciate you coming. Always a pleasure. Come on back.